Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time you're listening. It's always a good time here for Touchdown in Paradise on the Finns Talk Sports Network. I'm Justin.
I'm Russ.
I'm Pete.
No show Joe. He just got back from overseas, but we're back, the three of us at least, for the first time in a couple weeks, I believe.
Original crew.
Yes, Sabbatical Pete's back.
Yeah.
That's right, guys. It's been the first year of the 12-team playoff, and we haven't gotten a really, really, really good game until Arizona State, Texas. But Russ would disagree with that.
No, Justin. No. Do you want me to get into it right off the bat?
Not yet. We'll get there.
Okay.
Yeah, we got to start with recapping of what we've missed so far in the last couple of weeks. So in that first round, we had Texas having to go through Clemson at first. Now, at first, it looked like it was going to be 50-0. Then Clemson started creeping back in until they pulled away again, and it was just done for. We saw Quinn Ewers look pedestrian. We've also seen him look great at times. Pete, what Quinn Ewers are we going to get next week against Ohio State? This week, excuse me.
It's a tough one. We've kind of seen the wide range we've gotten the entire Quinn Ewers freaking experience, man, basically having the game in hand against Arizona State and choking it away. I literally left the house to go over my mom's because I was like, oh, this game's over. And I stop and see Russ and he's like, oh no, Quinn Ewers is throwing the game away. And I was like, what are you talking about, man? So I rushed in and I was like, oh my God, a completely different game over the span of 10 minutes. What we saw at the end with him throwing that touchdown pass is what he's going to have to do against this Ohio State defense. I think he's going to play good, but history tells us he's up and down. So I think we're going to get an up and down experience, and I think Texas is going to lose. I think Ohio State's going to win, and that's not to try to jump on the Ohio State train. I just didn't think Texas was good enough to walk away from that game against Arizona State. And Ohio State's a lot better than them. So I think it's going to be very up and down, Justin.
Russ, thoughts on Texas to this point, and what kind of chance are you going to give them against the Buckeyes?
I mean, I'm kind of with Pete, up and down. I think I'm high hopes on Quinn Ewers this week. I think he's going to have a good game. He's going to want to come out and show why he left Ohio State. He's definitely up and down. He's a gunslinger. He's a gunslinger. Yeah. You think of the Aaron Rodgers, the Brett, especially the Brett Favre. He's a gunslinger. And with a gunslinger, you're going to get a big game. You're going to get a bad game. I'm prepared to have him a big game. Hopes on Texas. It's anybody's game, Justin. Honestly, Ohio State looked, and you were at the game. Ohio State looked unbelievable. But are we going to get that Ohio State team against Texas, or are we going to get the team who put up 10 points against Michigan?
Yeah,
in Columbus. It's been such.
It was in Columbus. Yeah, it was at Ohio State. Yeah.
Which Ohio State team are we going to get? That's my thing. Texas is kind of just a coin flip for me. They looked really good right off the bat against Arizona State, and then just disappeared. And that defense kept them in the game for a long time, but that offense just disappeared. And I don't know if Isaiah Bond will play. That'll be a big loss if he's not playing. But you just got to take the good with the bad with Quinn Ewers, because he's gonna win you some games with that big arm, and he's gonna lose them at the same time.
That's right, and I like what you said there. Your point of which Ohio State team are we going to get? Because we also were saying that about Alabama. If you put them in the playoff, which Alabama are you going to get? The one that beat Georgia, or the one that lost to Vanderbilt? The one that beat South Carolina, or the one that lost to Oklahoma?
Or just lost to Michigan in their bowl game.
Yes, what happened there. And we're not going to let South Carolina off the hook either because they
lost too.
Good either. No,
they lost to Brett Bielema in Illinois.
Yeah, Big Ten legend, dude. Yeah, I don't know. I think Ohio State's going to win, but also they are up and down, like Russ just said. So this could be a kind of a really close game where it shifts multiple times, and both quarterbacks are playing good for one quarter, then throwing a pick the next quarter, and I think it's going to be really up and down. I do think Ohio State's going to come away with it, but I think it's going to be a good game.
I mean, I do too, but I mean, Will Howard was playing with his hair on fire. I think he wanted to prove people at that first game with Luke. He's going to have to come out and play like that against Texas.
Well, yeah, can he do that for 3 games in a row? I don't know. Has he really shown that? So we'll see. I don't know.
He's been up and down too.
Yeah, that's true.
So I do think it's. Say that again.
We saw what he looked like against Michigan, and it wasn't good.
Yeah, no, it was not. It was not good. So I mean, it's. I mean, I think it'll be a good game. I'm really hoping for a good game. That's what I really want. I'm trying to stay positive on it.
Yeah.
But I usually turn to the negative.
I'm rooting for Texas. I'm rooting for Texas. So let's be known there. I think that they're going to lose, but I am rooting for Texas. I want it to be Texas versus Notre Dame in the final. That's kind of what I'd like to see, just because Texas is cool, and I hate Ohio State, but I think Ohio State's going to win it.
Yeah, at this point, I was saying it's not about if Ohio State wins, it's when Ohio State wins it all. That's how good they've looked to me, especially seeing it with my own 2 eyes in the stadium of the Rose Bowl with JP the other day. And just looking how effortlessly Jeremiah Smith can get by even some of the best corners in the country at Oregon and dominate them. He said, he called a shot before the game. Don't play man on me because I'll beat you. And every single time he won. He scored, I believe, 2 times in that game. And not to mention the way they looked on the ground, too. Travion Henderson with a long touchdown run. By the way, I was in the stadium and they had this little thing saying players pronouncing LA streets. And so they go through all these things on the video board. And I'm standing next to an Ohio State fan. And Travion Henderson gets on there and says, Rodeo Drive. And immediately that guy is like, take that touchdown off the board.
Classic.
Come on, kid. Come on.
Hey, the only other thing I would say about this game and Ohio State in general is they basically been boat racing people in this playoff so far. They haven't had a close game. So if Texas keeps this close, we see what Quinn Ewers can do basically in double OT to win the game or to push it to OT or whatever, to make that throw in OT on 4th and 13. That takes some fucking balls. And Will Howard hasn't had to do that in this playoff yet. So if this game is tight, I'm really going to be interested to see, is he making the throws? Is he making the clutch plays? Because Ewers has done it, even though he's also kind of fumbled the bag. So that's a little thing I'm watching out for.
It's also noted that he was at Kansas State for 4 years, Will Howard. And he did not beat Texas once. He went 0-4. And so he said before this game, I'm really looking forward to Texas because I never got to beat them when I was at Kansas State. Only Big 12 team I never beat. And every time he calls a shot, he just seems to win. He did that against Penn State. He won. He's doing it against Oregon. Did that too. Did it against Indiana. Did the sig celebration. Did that. Now Texas is the next victim. Just seems like they're running through everybody.
Except Michigan.
Yeah.
We'd also have to highlight some of the teams that just failed to show up in this playoff, and we're going to start with Oregon. Seeing that debacle happening in the Rose Bowl, I never thought I would see an Oregon Ducks team show up as flat as they did. Yes, they scored 15 points, but it was too little too late. You got trucked. You got outmatched. That team that you beat earlier that year, you lit a fire under their ass. The moment that Will Howard slid down with 0 seconds on the clock and everybody mobs the field and he's standing there watching all that happen, That's when I said to myself, oh, this is his villain arc moment. Something's telling me that this is not the last time. And I thought personally that this was going to be the national title game. I also thought this was going to be the Big Ten title game. And neither of those things are going to happen, but they did meet again. And this was the matchup. So I'll start off with Pete here. Did Oregon deserve this matchup? And if so, or if not, why?
You know, I don't know if the word deserving is accurate. I think it's just more they got unlucky with it. You know, I mean, had Ohio State, beaten Michigan, or however things might have turned out different for them, and had they won, they would have gotten the bye. So I think it's just unlucky. I mean, the whole seeding thing, that whole thing, we can get into that. Everyone can just shut the hell up about it. Like, it's the first year of the tournament. You're not going to be able to put these teams in certain seeds all the time. And you can't it's like the NFL playoffs. You get to the wild card. Usually it's always a blowout for one of the games. And that's kind of how the first round went. So, yeah, they got unlucky. But they had more time to prepare. And that's the problem I have with this is I thought Dan Lanning was going to have those guys ready to go. And he did not, at all. For a dude who I think is one of the top coaches in the entire league, he didn't have ready to go from the jump, dude. Like, from the jump, you're like, oh, they're going to get smoked. And that's exactly what happened. And the quarterback, Gabriel, looked like a deer in headlights, wasn't doing anything. And, yeah, so I just think it was a failure to prepare. I guarantee if Nick Saban had a bye, he wouldn't have lost in his first game in this thing. No matter who he's playing against, you give him like 2 weeks, 3 weeks to prepare, he ain't losing. Like, it's just not going to happen. So yeah, they're just unlucky. All the teams that had the byes lost, and it was all a failure to prepare.
Unlucky ducks.
Yeah, unlucky duckling.
Russ, thoughts on Oregon? Did they deserve that Ohio State matchup right off the bat?
I have my issues with it. I've mentioned, reseeding, but technically, Oregon we didn't need to reseed because Oregon was number 8 and the lowest seed there. So it technically worked out. So they technically did deserve that matchup because Oregon was the 8 and they were the lowest seed. So even reseeding this year doesn't matter. I think maybe we got to do that. The other thing is, I think there's some major flaws in this playoff because you're seeing teams who either didn't make their conference title game and now they're in the semifinals. So our team's going to be like, do I really want to put myself in that position, make the conference title game, maybe not even make the 12-team playoff if I lose? And then if I do win, we go play. I think it might be better to play because, yes, you do have more time to prepare, but your guys are actually getting physical contact. They're actually playing the game. You can only do so much in practice. You're not going full board when you're in practice hitting. So it could be a better thing. My other thing is, do we think we go just 1 through 4, the top 4 teams?
Get the buys, and then everyone – is that what you're saying? I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay with that. I mean –
the 4 best teams get the buys because as much as, great job for Boise State and Arizona State, did they deserve a bye right off the bat? And then Penn State gets a nice, easier road. I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot of flaws, but I mean, technically, Oregon did deserve that matchup because they were playing the lowest remaining seeded team.
Yeah.
And
they should have been better prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to go into a lot of people thinking because, I mean, no team who had the bye ended up winning. So maybe teams are going to be like, hey, we'll sit out we don't need to play the conference title game. Hey, we'll play. We'll get our guys ready. They'll be going full board instead of sitting there and just going through the motions in practice because you're not going full, 100% of the time hitting your running back or wide receiver. And it showed.
Right. When I left the game, there was about 6 minutes and 13 seconds or something like that to go. And Oregon had negative 18 rushing yards for the game. Now, granted, one of the running backs got hurt in warm-ups and he had to sit. And then Jordan James got hurt during the game and he had to sit. So at that point, all you have is your quarterback who's running for his life because that O-line can't contain those big guys on defense like Jack Sawyer for Ohio State. And you're winning the game with your arm at that point, relying on the arm of a left-handed Hawaiian 6-year senior quarterback against probably the most stacked D-line in college football. That's not a recipe for success at all. Looking at Boise State, does the group of 5 deserve a bye period or even consideration for it? Now, I know this was one game against a Penn State team that was clearly better than them, but in the future, should we even think about this? Russ, start with you.
Go ahead, Russ.
I mean, Pete, if you want to go, yeah, go.
Well, I was just going to say, if the season ends and they're in the top 4, then yeah, they deserve it. If they're not in the top 4, then they don't deserve a bye. Simple.
I mean, but they weren't in the top 4, so I mean, I say no. I don't even say not even group of 5. I would say even in the power 4 now, if you don't end up in the top 4, you shouldn't get a bye. Where Boise State ended up 9 at the end of the year, gets a bye. Arizona State was 13 or 14, and they get a bye. I mean, how is that right for the teams are? I mean, Boise State had an 89 strength of schedule, minus Oregon. Who did they play? And I mean, kind of say the same thing for Arizona State was better because they're playing in a better conference. But it's still, it's like, hey, you look at Ohio State, you look at Notre Dame, even though Notre Dame's schedule isn't all that great either. It's better than both those teams. You look at Penn State, which is better. I don't think not even just the group of 5, the power 4, unless you finish in the top 4, you don't deserve a bye.
Fair assessment. Pete, anything else to add?
The one thing I was going to say is for Arizona State, I mean, they played a closer game against an SEC opponent than Georgia played against Notre Dame. So to say they didn't deserve the bye, I don't know if that was necessarily. I think for sure Boise State did not deserve it just because they just didn't. They weren't in the top 4. They weren't even in the top 8. I can't remember what they ended the season ranked actually on the AP or whatever. But I think Arizona State potentially could have deserved it by how they played in that game, and the fact that they probably should have won it. So I'm okay with it. But I think if we just switch this up next year to literally just do it all the way to the end, you have the AP poll or the coaches poll, whatever freaking one you want to do, or whoever does it, now the ESPN, whatever, the top 4 get the bye, and then we move on, and then we don't have to deal with it.
If we're going off the CFP final season ranking, Boise State was the 9th best team in college football and got
correct. So they did it. Yeah.
Arizona State was the 12th ranked best team in college football, and they got the bye. So that means 10 teams are better than them, and you get an automatic bye.
Yeah, I'm saying this year for sure Boise State did not deserve to get. But that's how it was set up. That's how it was set up. So they deserve to get it this year because they did exactly what they're supposed to do. So was that the right way to do it? No.
The first year they'll work stuff out.
Yeah, they'll fix it. They already said they're going to look at change it. Well, I heard though that there's the committee or whatever. They have to have 100% of them vote to change something to actually have it changed. It's not like 60%. Yeah, it has to be unanimous. So the girl on ESPN, I don't know what her name was, but she said they all have to agree. Otherwise. So if they don't all agree about changing the seating like that, it might not change next year, which is crazy. Yeah, it wasn't her; it was someone else. But
And I'm enjoying the drink club here with you two sipping right now.
There you go. I always gotta have something in my hand, Justin. Right now it's a coffee. I'm gonna switch to about 7 or 8 Coors Lights later. You're
gonna black out.
Hey, the other thing, I don't know if we had talked about this. I'm not trying to just throw some random topics in here, but I saw you because you were at the game, Justin. We're just talking about this Oregon game. Did Oregon State and Washington State each get a $50 million payout because they're the only two left in the Pac-12 from the Rose Bowl. I saw
just
that.
heard about this recently.
Yeah, Oregon didn't get anything because they're not in it. So literally the two teams left in the Pac-12 got $50 million each from this Rose Bowl, and they just sat at home. And then since Notre Dame won and they're independent, they got all the money to themselves that would have went to the conference.
The SEC has to ration it out to every team that made it. So all 4 teams that made it got 2.3, where Notre Dame
got the entire 15 or something, I think. Something like that. No.
Notre Dame's at 14 right now.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
They don't have to they don't have to give it to anybody else.
No, it's just so that's why.
You made it, but every team who made it from the SEC got 2.3 million. The Big Ten is similar too.
So to me, I'm like, I never want us to go and join a conference now. If we just win and keep all the money, I mean, come on, why would we even get in a conference right now? There's no reason.
You've got the NBC money coming in. You've got the bowl money coming all to you, for sure.
All to you. Yeah, it's crazy, man. I just thought you guys would find that interesting. Yeah.
Speaking of Notre Dame, it's been a good December and January for the Irish. Now, we do send our condolences to anyone who was affected in New Orleans the day before, causing the bowl game to be pushed back 24 hours. That being said, they show up, and Gunnar Stockton does not look like he's ready to be a big-time quarterback. I'm sorry, but he showed some bright spots. He's just not there right now. And that's why Carson Beck was still starting this year, and we saw that. And Notre Dame did exactly what they needed to do. They found and exploited that weakness and just did what they did best. They pounded and grounded that run game, everything there. Riley Leonard did what he did best. He didn't try to do too much either. He knows his legs he'll always win with, and he continued to win with his legs, including the game-clinching first down. Pete, break down the film for us. What was impressive, and what are you looking to do against Penn State to exploit there?
Yeah, so what was very impressive was obviously our defense. Our defense was getting after. I mean, it didn't matter if it was Carson Beck. We were getting to him quickly, man. And he started off, Stockton, I think, started off 8 for 8 or 8 for 9 or something. He was completing his passes. But when they were getting in the red zone, we were keeping them out of field goal range, or if they got in field goal range, we forced a turnover. And especially in the second half when they were going for it, basically every time they were in our 30 yards, they had to get touchdowns. We were forcing 4 and out, even though the refs are trying to freaking give them points. God dang it. Every time we got to stop on 4th down, there's a flag, but whatever. Our defense was the most impressive. I thought our coaching was extremely impressive, simply based on what are you making faces over there, dude? Yeah. Our coaching was he was outsmarting Kirby Smart on some of our shifts. And then finally, Riley Leonard, for how much this season I was worried about him, kind of did the perfect game plan, which is if the guy's not open, use your legs and get the first. I don't know how many runs he had where he just either organized quickly or he's like, oh, nope, no one's there. Let me get 15 yards. And he did it every time he ran. They could not stop him. There was one time he got stopped on 4th down on a sneak, which I still think that was a bad spot and that he got it, but whatever. I thought those are the 3 biggest things. It was our defense, it was coaching, and Riley Leonard playing very smart with the football. And, he doesn't have to throw for a ton of yards. Just hit the guys when they're open, use your legs, and give it to our running back, who's one of the best in the country. So dominant performance. I didn't think it mattered if it was Beck or not. Our defense was getting to him quick, man. They were getting to him.
Thank you, Superfan Pete. Russ, your thoughts on this game here, and where does Kirby Smart go now with this roster?
Well, I will agree, Pete, with Pete on the game plan. I'll get to my other thoughts where I can rip Pete in the end. But on the game plan, Marcus Freeman just did outcoach him. They did what played to their strengths: strong defense, strong running game. Riley Leonard had to make. I've been saying it for weeks. He's got to make a couple throws. He made a couple throws. So you lean on that running game heavily. They did that. Marcus Freeman made some great adjustments. I think that one play on that fourth, which apparently is illegal.
So it's not because the long snapper when he was in.
You're not supposed to bring 11 off, 11 on.
No. But the long snapper that was in never bent down and touched the football, so the play had never started. So it was basically. It was legal. It was legal. Coach Smart didn't think so, but it was actually legal. They might change that though.
You sent that post of, was it Marcus Freeman, Justin, where he's like, oh, it's all you, and he's like, no, we did that. You changed that. He's like, no, we did it as a team. I'm like,
yeah.
I like that. That's selfless. He's like, it's not about me. I like Marcus Freeman a lot. Like him bringing back game day masses.
I know, right?
Which Brian Kelly, they got rid of.
Godless Brian Kelly.
I mean, he brought it back, so I like him a lot. I think they just leaned on their strengths. Riley Leonard made a few throws. They got a hell of a running game, strong defense. I'm looking forward to this week because Penn State's got a strong defense too.
Yeah.
On the ref thing, the one play that changed the whole trajectory of that game was the refs. Was that one play where
it was the kid that ran on the sideline?
Yes, it was, but that would have changed the whole game. That was early.
No, I know. They probably would have got a touchdown. Yeah.
So I mean, Pete's complaining about the refs. I'm like, and if that happened to Notre Dame and they called that, Pete would have been screaming and yelling, "That's SEC bias." Where's the SEC bias on that, Pete? You should have.
No, I would have been like, get that fucking kid off the sideline. Like, dude, he's
probably not there anymore. But I mean, like,
yeah.
I just
think that fourth down, the pass interference when the ball hit our guy in the back, that was like a total bailout call. Like, okay, whatever. We won. I'm not gonna be pissed. Yeah.
That one flag
play,
was definitely a flag.
Yeah.
But that could have changed the whole game. And I think
they were definitely getting a touchdown.
No, it would have been touchdown, changed everything, and Georgia would have momentum. But the issue with Georgia is the problems they've been having all year were the same problems. They dropped the ball a lot. And even if Carson Beck's in there, I think they would have had those same problems because they were dropping a lot with Stockton or Beck.
Yeah. And then you also, I mean, shout out to our special teams because that kickoff return, that was just like a nail in the coffin to start the second half after you literally fumble it. And then we score a touchdown, and then we get the ball back and right away. And like, you just can't. Those are the things those are the problems that Notre Dame in the past would have, where it was like we would give up just some BS stuff like that. Like that stuff I used to expect from our team in these big games was, oh, we're on our own 10, we're going to fumble it, and they're going to get a touchdown. Oh, we're going to let them run it all the way back off the kickoff. And it was just nice to be on the opposite end of it. So I will say that.
That's like a Belichick thing. Like, every time I'm a Jets fan, so I played Belichick so many times, and it would be like, oh, they go down and score a touchdown at the end of the first half. Oh, then we get the ball in the start of the second half and score again. So it'd be like, oh, bam, you're just dead. There's 10 points in the span of 2 possessions.
Well, that's what it was. I think it was 14 points in the span of like 15 seconds.
I mean, you don't think the guy's going to fumble in that situation and they're like that. But
no, you don't. You don't. But he's also – the thing I don't understand about that is that the kid hasn't done a drive like that all season. So it's like, why even put him in that position to potentially, after they had already fumbled it in the red zone one time, and our defense was getting to him. So I will say that. The kid hasn't done it all season, and it was a one-score game. So, like, why not just get out of the half and feeling like you're just down, one touchdown? But it is what it is. Or you don't know. It was only a 3-point game, or it's tied. Whatever the hell it was. It was a tied game, I think, and he did that. So it's like I don't understand that. I mean, a minute left. The kid's got to go 80 yards. He hasn't done it all season. Like, I don't know. But thanks, Kirby.
Yes, and now at this point, Georgia gets sent home. So the only SEC team remaining is a team that was in the Big 12 last year. So is the SEC in shambles like they think it is down south and the sky's falling? Russ.
Overrated.
No, it's good. I think it's just it was a downer year for the SEC. You didn't really have a clear-cut like dominant team like we usually, or dominant one or two teams. Can't really say Texas or Georgia was. I think it was just more of a parity type of thing. You could have seen, we could have seen South Carolina or Alabama get in and probably compete fine. I'm going to say majority of those teams who barely missed out were probably just like, fuck it, excuse my language. I don't want to play for this shit. Like, I just think it's more – it was definitely a down year for the SEC, but not as where now we usually go in where it's just like Alabama, Georgia right here, and then it's everybody who's like, good – but Alabama, Georgia are clear cut, the best two in the conference. This year, it's like you could have all those teams who made it, and Alabama, South Carolina could have won the conference. So I don't know if it's overrated. It's just more. There's more. It was a lot more competitive this year. And like on the Georgia thing, it's bound to catch up to Georgia. The amount of players Georgia has lost to the NFL, it's bound to catch up to them.
Yeah. Well, you saw it. They didn't have Brock Bowers to just bail them out on pretty much everything all the time.
You lose Bowers and McConkey are two of the best, receivers, rookie receivers in the NFL right now, because Brock Bowers is a receiver, even though he's a tight end. I mean, you lose two of the top guys in college football. It's bound to catch up to you at some point, and I think it just caught up to him. I'm interested to see what Kirby does in the offseason, if Beck comes back, and what he does moving forward. Because even with Beck, they kind of looked.
Yeah, and I think another big thing is like we're a couple of years into the NIL stuff, and not like 10 years in, but a couple of years in, and everyone's figuring it out, kind of, including the players. So like you used to have Saban would lose 25 guys to the NFL. Every position he had 4 backups that could play at other schools, but now they don't want to do that. They want to go get money. They want to be a guy playing at another school, getting paid $500,000, couple $1 million versus sitting behind. So yeah, when you lose these dominant guys, like you might have another guy who's kind of good, but is a guy who's almost as dominant as Brock Bowers going to sit behind Brock Bowers for 2 seasons and like maybe not get paid or anything? Like I think that's a huge thing. Like, why wait? Why waste your years, especially if you get hurt? So say you're like this much, you're slightly not as talented as Brock Bowers. You're not going to sit behind him at Georgia and risk getting hurt in practice and not getting NIL money. You're going to go fucking somewhere else and get paid. And I think that's really how it's going to be. So I think this parity is going to stay, Russ. I mean, good coaches will always figure it out, but I think it's going to be extremely hard to have a run like Saban or even Kirby, I feel like was on track to do, just because guys want to get paid. And now I just saw, aren't they changing the roster size now too? They're dropping it down to like 100 guys or something on the active inactive roster. So now all these schools, you're going to have like a portion of dudes who are going to have to transfer out because they're not going to be able to be on the roster. So you got a lot of things here potentially that are causing this. So I think it's here to stay. I think the parity is going to be great.
Yeah, we just saw that actually with Penn State's backup quarterback, Bo Pribula, who had to leave because he wanted playing time. Drew Aller's coming back next year, and he ended up transferring to Mizzou, I just found out.
Yeah,
so they got
exactly.
Back there.
I'm saying Drew Aller might come back. Yeah.
He said he's coming back, and that's what I'm going off of at this moment.
No, yeah, I know it. I got it right here too, but a lot of scouts are saying if he keeps on playing like this, he'll declare.
He looks really good. We got to talk about Penn State really quick because they got the luckiest draw of anybody in this playoff, getting SMU, very overrated team who skated through the ACC, competed with Clemson for the title, and took the spot away from another SEC team, and just threw 2 or 3 pick sixes in the first quarter or something like that, and completely shat the bed. Then Penn State goes to the Fiesta Bowl, where both teams combined were 10-0 in that building all time, or in that game at least. Penn State being 7-0, Boise State being 3-0. And while it was competitive at first, Penn State pulled away toward the end, and all 3 of us were watching that at Pete's place. Weird few times that we could say that. We were all watching the game together in person.
The boys are back in town, Justin. I loved it.
Yeah, so getting to that point here, Russ, with Penn State, what do you make of this? Was it luck of the draw, or is there something here?
I mean, it was definitely they got a sweet draw. I mean, that's the I guess the issue with the 12 team, and it's the first year. They'll figure it out. With SMU, I mean, shoot, they lost to a BYU team early, which ended up not doing as good as by the end of the year. I mean, who did they really play? They didn't have to play Clemson in the regular season. They didn't have to play Miami. They didn't have to play Syracuse. I mean, look at their schedule. I mean, TCU, Florida State, Louisville, who was ranked at that time, Stanford, Duke, Pittsburgh, ranked at the time they played, not Boston College, Virginia, Cal, and then they finally played two ranked teams in Clemson and Penn State. So, I mean, I know they don't have much. I don't know how much control they have in the conference scheduling type of thing. So, I mean, like, and I know obviously you can't go in and be like, I know this team's going to be great type of thing. You're gonna go, but I mean, you look at them. They played Nevada right off the bat. You play Houston Christian. I mean, at least Texas A&M, played a Notre Dame team at the beginning of the year. I mean, who did they play outside of Louisville and Pittsburgh, who didn't end up ranked?
Mm-hmm. Did BYU really not end the year ranked? That's crazy.
I'm looking right now.
No, they must have. They had to have.
They had 2 losses, and then they blew out Colorado in the bowl game. Now, that doesn't count toward the rankings, but still.
Yeah, I thought they were 15th or 16th or something, but maybe I'm wrong.
17th right now.
Okay. Got 17th. Okay.
Okay, so one ranked opponent they play.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I don't know how much control they have in the conference scheduling. They'll obviously be playing Miami and Clemson next year, and Syracuse, who ended the year very well. But on the non-conference side, who did they play?
Mm-hmm.
BYU.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think, we definitely had a harder schedule, and I think we've been more battle hardened. And they haven't been in a close game here in a little while. So if it's close, I think that we're going to be able to handle it better. But their defense is good. Their tight end, I can't remember the guy's name, the big
Warner.
White dude. Yeah, Warner. He's the guy that we really got to watch out for because he's bigger than most of our corners, like by a landslide. So he's really the guy that I think we have to watch out for. We got to key in on him 1,000%. We'll have some injuries pretty much. Yeah. I'd be shocked in the red zone if we're not constantly double teaming them somehow or putting dudes, playing a little zone right around them or something. But injuries too. I mean, Love injured his knee, re-aggravated. I think he's going to be fine for the game. I saw that Penn State's got an edge rusher that was hurt. He didn't play for 3/4 of the Boise game. So, I mean, both teams have, some guys who are going through some stuff, but it makes sense. I mean, this is more college football than anyone's ever played ever with the 12-team playoff, right? So you're playing more games than you ever play. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. When I was a kid in the 90s, I was born in Pennsylvania. My entire extended family, besides everyone outside of my immediate family, were huge Penn State fans. So whenever we go back there, it was just fighting constantly, hey, Penn State's year, we're going to beat you. We're like, nah, fuck off. It's Notre Dame's year. So I'm excited because this matchup has not happened in a long time. Like, we have not played them in a long time, and I'm very excited for it.
I mean, we had a better schedule. I mean, Notre Dame's schedule wasn't that great. Outside it, they played A&M right off the bat. Solid win. You play Northern Illinois, lose. You play Purdue, who we all know what Purdue is. You play Miami, Ohio, terrible. You beat Louisville by 7. SMU beat Louisville by, it was like 48-24. Stanford, terrible. Georgia Tech, terrible. Is Navy really?
Oh, wait. Georgia Tech was not terrible.
Yeah, what? Georgia Tech wasn't terrible.
Average. Okay.
I mean, they took Navy Georgia to 7 OTs.
Is Navy really deserving of a ranked team? No. Florida State, we all know them. Virginia, Army, that's not really ranked. USC, no rank. So, I mean, was it that dominant of a schedule?
I mean, well, we beat more ranked teams that were actually ranked.
And the one team who has full control of their schedule in college football is Notre Dame.
Yeah, okay, but USC still beat Texas A&M and won their bowl game. So, to me, that makes them technically ranked. And then, Navy was
technicalities now, Peter.
Well, you're the one being technical, saying these teams were not really ranked when they were ranked.
Technical. You're just going off technicalities. Well, it was they should be
ranked. No, you're doing that when you're saying, they're ranked, but they shouldn't. You're literally saying, no, they shouldn't really be ranked. You know,
they play in the AAC.
But I'm sorry, they were.
They play in the AAC.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the team we beat is Georgia. So. Has Penn State beat anyone else this season even close to as good as Georgia football is or was or could have been this season? No, they haven't. So, end of story.
But we're going off. You're saying it was better in the SMU. SMU played one team that was in your thing, and they beat Louisville 48-24. You beat them 31-24.
We beat Georgia, dude. That's all that matters at this point. So.
And they can validate if they win this week against Penn State, because then this all goes away. And if they win too, it's fair to say that Marcus Freeman has equaled what Brian Kelly took them to. He took them to a title game in 2012. Now, if he wins it, obviously he's topped Brian Kelly, but I think he's well on his way to topping him either way. You've already won a New Year's Six Bowl for the first time in Notre Dame's history.
That's true. Yeah, so I'm excited for it. You know, I think our team is battle tested to this point, and they seem like they're really together too. I get this sense of togetherness with the team, and it's not just because I follow all their social media and all that stuff. I just get the vibe like the guys have bought in, and like this is a special season, and I just don't think it's going to end this week, and I really hope it doesn't. So,
and we could go. Speaking of that, we can go back. I actually don't know if it was when we were on FTSN. It might have been before it. When Brian Kelly left, I told you, Pete, it was a blessing in disguise because you got Marcus Freeman, because the players love him, and you didn't have to fire Brian Kelly. And that's what it's going out to be, because Brian got a better relationship with the players, and it's
go
back on the video because we might not even have been on video at that point, but I did say it.
No, you did. And I the only part of that entire situation that I was frustrated with was for years, I feel like we had we're like, no, Kelly's going to do it. We were like trying to buy into him, be like, no, he's going to figure it. And then he leaves us. Meanwhile, it seemed like every couple of years, the fans were like, no, he'll figure. We were advocating to keep him because a number of times we were looked at getting rid of him. And then to have him leave was just like, man, all those times that we tried to lobby to have you, to not fire you, and then you just leave us. So this is great. I love it. He actually wants to be there. Brian Kelly's, besides having a Heisman winner and potential all-time NFL quarterback play for him for LSU, hasn't done anything there. So I'm excited, man. Freeman's good. I'm glad we locked him up to a long-term deal so that none of these NFL teams or potentially Ohio State could come in and try to take him. Hey, had Ryan Day not gone on this run right here, they were ready to get rid of him, dude. Yeah.
So,
no, I know. I'm just saying when we signed him to that deal, that was a potential reality, so I'm excited.
Yeah, if Ryan Day does lose his job at any point down the line, I feel like the first person Ohio State would go for is Luke Fickell up at Wisconsin. He's such a Ohio guy through and through. He's an alum of the university. He played for them. It's just a perfect match made in heaven. We saw what he did with Cincinnati, took them to the playoff. Deserve it or not,
that's true.
They went, and they got blasted by Alabama.
Saban was licking his chops on that one. He's like, wow, you guys are going to give me this one? Come on, dude.
And he did it with Desmond Ridder.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, we've seen what he's turned into in the NFL.
Legend.
So, guys, it's our second to last parlay of the year. Shall we do it?
Might as well fire it up, son.
Okay, let's do it. Orange Bowl down in Miami. Notre Dame versus Penn State. The Fighting Irish take on the Nittany Lions down in Miami, with Notre Dame coming in as a 1.5 point favorite here. the over-under is 44.5. Notre Dame minus 118, and Penn State is also minus 102. Keep that in mind. This is all according to DraftKings currently at this very moment. Starting with Pete.
So I think we're going to run the ball a lot, and our defense is going to play good. And I think their defense is going to play good. I think it's going to hit barely the under. I think that Notre Dame is going to win 27-17. So I think you're going to hit the under by half a point, I think, is if I'm correct here. So I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take Notre Dame to obviously cover because we're favored by 1 point. And obviously the money line for Notre Dame. So I believe in this team. I believe in Marcus Freeman. And I'm really excited for it. So we'll see what happens. But I really think that's how it's going to go, about 27-17, something right around there.
Coming down the line to Russ.
Yeah, I'm with Pete. I wish it was a little higher of an over-under because I would actually bet that and stay away from the game. But being 44 is so low. But I do think it might be like 43 total. Is what I'm.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's like so low where I think it's gonna actually do it.
This is gonna be an old school smash mouth football game with who's the running back? Katron Allen, Fat Boy's his nickname, best nickname in college football, and Love and Riley. So it's gonna be old school smash mouth football game. Strong defense. So I mean, I could see it going either way. And 1 point really is not really a cover situation. It's basically like a push 'em.
Yeah, it's a pick 'em or whatever. Yeah,
it's a pick 'em game. So I do think it's going to get the under. I'm going to go Notre Dame to win and cover. I just trust Marcus Freeman more, but am I 100% confident on that pick? No, because of the way Drew Hour's been looking in that defense. But Notre Dame has been more tested and just tested on last week, if we really get down there.
If you want to disregard the rest of the schedule, sure, but definitely just simply based on 1 week.
I'm disregarding the Indiana game, too, because that was a bad game from right off the bat. From last week, they're more tested than Penn State was having to play Boise State, who, as great as Boise State was, all you had to do was identify one player and take him away. And we were all watching that game at Pete's house, and it was, we take away Ashton Genty, and the offense is just not the same. So, and they won't have that. So am I confident Notre Dame's going to win? No, I think they will just because I'm going off of Marcus Freeman. I do like him a lot. I think he's a great coach. But I'm just – at the end of the day, I want a great football.
Me too. I'd like to see a good game.
I couldn't pick Penn State because I've been trashing Penn State all year.
Consistent, though. That's good. That's good.
I can't – I mean, if they win, I'll be eating my words for a full year, but I'm going to go with Notre Dame. Go Irish. I'm Catholic, too, so I got to go –
Come on. Let's go, baby.
Got to stick with them.
Penn State versus Notre Dame. James Franklin versus Marcus Freeman. Riley Leonard against Drew Aller. Keegan-Michael Key against Shane Gillis.
There we go. That's the actual big matchup. Yeah.
I'll take Gillis.
This matchup is everything.
I'll take Gillis.
Now, you see here, I believe Ohio State's going to win. We'll get to that game in a minute. But if Penn State wins, we get a rematch of something that happened earlier in the season where Penn State went all 4 downs at the 1 yard line and couldn't get in. Ohio State was just too strong there. So I think both these teams are equally tested because Penn State still did have to play Ohio State and Oregon. They did run through 2 good enough teams to make the playoff, but not great in SMU and Boise. We made it to this point. Notre Dame, ever since NIU, where Thomas Hammock, God bless coach over there in Northern Illinois, helped Marcus Freeman out. Apparently they talked, and he gave them all the keys it was to beating them, and so he could learn from that. Is that going to be enough to get them to the national title game against either Ohio State or Texas? You know, it really comes down to, I like what Russ said, it's going to be an old school slugfest. 2 Midwest teams just really going at it. If you consider Pennsylvania the Midwest, at that point in Pennsylvania, maybe you are. But either way, I'm excited for this. I really am. Shout out to Dano, who's gone to both games so far in the playoff, and he's on his way to Miami for this one too. He got stuck in New Orleans overnight in his leprechaun suit. He was only planning to go for the day, had to find a shower in a random place wearing that leprechaun suit, wearing his underwear inside out, still goes, sits through the win. Those fans are resilient. Notre Dame is resilient. Give me the Irish. Give me to cover. Give me the money line and give me the under, because this is going to be a smash mouth defensive football game. Heavyweight fight here, and we're all here for the big boy football. James Franklin, you're Mr. King of games you're supposed to win. Well, guess what, buddy? You're not favored here. You're not supposed to win this one. What are you going to do now? Can you prove it to us one last time, and maybe you can win this one and go face Ohio State or Texas? This is your chance, James Franklin. This is your chance. If this is it, then we're never going to believe in you again, ever. Not like we already did, but never again will we ever give you a shred of the benefit of the doubt if you lose this one. So I got it here. We're all going Notre Dame.
Let's go, baby.
Really not a good thing.
Next up here, the Cotton
This
Bowl.
time it is.
Yeah.
You talk about proximity. Texas is only 200 miles away. They have to travel for this game in Jerry World, Pete's Jerry World.
Hell yeah.
Guys, Ohio State is a 6.5-point favorite here. Over-under is 53.5. That sounds more like it in a playoff game. OSU minus 238, Texas plus 195. Starting over here, as I said earlier in the show, it's not a matter of if Ohio State wins, it's when Ohio State wins. There's not a doubt in my mind that they're going to blow the doors off of Texas. And I hate to say this because my family's probably going to watch this. They're all Texas fans. My dad is going to be there, proud alum, probably standing on the sidelines and up in the press box afterwards. We'll see where he ends up. But look, Ohio State has just proven that nobody stands in its way. They'll see man, they'll throw over you. They'll see stack in the box, they'll run right through you. You play man, you play zone, doesn't matter. Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka, they're going to run right past you, leap over you to catch that ball in a contested spot. I don't see it happening. I've got Ohio State covering. I've got the over, and give me the money line for the Buckeyes. Russ.
Well said, Justin. Yeah, I'm a little different. I think this is going to be a great game. I think Quinn Ewers is going to come out firing. I think Ohio State, like I said before, which Ohio State are we getting? Are we getting Ohio State who just played Oregon in the Rose Bowl? Or are we getting the Ohio State who played Michigan who couldn't barely move the ball? Which Ohio State are we getting? Because on paper, I mean, their running game's phenomenal. Trayvon Henderson, Quinton Junkins, Egbuka, and Jeremiah Smith, cousin of NFL quarterback Geno Smith, is phenomenal. But which one are we getting? Which Ohio State are we getting? The defense is solid, but I think it's going to be a very close, tight game. The over hits, which is more, I think there'll be a lot of points. I think Quinn Ewers is going to have a good game, come out firing. You can book it if I'm wrong. I guess I'm wrong on that. But I do have Ohio State winning. Got Texas covering, but I got Ohio State winning. And we'll see if we get a Big Ten first-time 12-team playoff championship game.
I love it, Russ.
Yeah. I'm going to take Texas to win. I think Isaiah Bond, who has been at practice this week, I think he's going to have a big game. I think Ewers is going to come out and be crisp. And let's not forget, besides him throwing a pick and kind of throwing the last game away and letting Arizona State get back in the game, they pretty much had it in control. And I just think that they're going to overpower the Buckeyes. I think obviously Jeremiah Smith's going to have a good game. He's hard to fucking stop, man, like almost unguardable. But I think somehow Sark's going to find a way, work with the defense to throw some different looks at him, some big boy football type of deal. And I think Texas is going to win. So I'm going to take Texas to cover, Texas money line, and I think it's going to hit the over. I think it's going to be a high scoring game.
But on the vice versa, you could say the same thing about Texas. Which Texas are we getting? Are we going to get
exactly
of the first quarter against Arizona State? Or are we going to get the Texas from the rest of the half before overtime?
Correct.
They my boat, and Justin was like, "Oh, the Arizona State was a good game." That was not a good football game
for Texas. No,
no, it wasn't a good football game for Arizona State either. It was.
Well, I mean, they capitalized on Texas' mistakes, so they were able to get back in it.
Texas going up 14-0 quick, and then did nothing until overtime, and then Arizona State had 2 big plays from Scadaboo getting yanked in the end zone from the offensive lineman, and
hell yeah,
making a big throw. I mean, that wasn't a good football game. It ended up a close score, but an overall football game, it wasn't a good football game. It was.
Wow, it was electric to me. It was at least electric. I mean, it was exciting.
Was that a good 4 quarters, Texas? I mean, so on that note, Texas. Which Texas are we getting? Because Texas came out strong. The defense looked out good. I mean, but if we're really going at Texas, only scored 7 points on offense until overtime because they had that kick return or punt return, whatever it was. So, I mean, which Texas are we getting on that hand? I do think Quinn Ewers is you live and die by Quinn Ewers, and he's a gunslinger. So, I mean, if we see that throw like he made in OT, I mean that's the thing. A lot of guys wouldn't make that throw. He makes that throw, and it could have gone really bad, but it went good. But that's his game.
Yeah, they're both that way. So I think it's going to be up and down, and it's obviously going to come down to the fourth quarter and who can execute the best. And I think Texas can because I've seen them do it in a close game in the fourth quarter and in overtime. So that's why I'm going Texas. Realistically, I've seen them do it very recently, whereas Ohio State's just been kind of front running.
We've had some great talk here. This has been a fun show, great hour long here. We're going to end it with this stat of the day here. Am I cursed? Every time that I go to a big game, something happens. And let me specify here. So back in 2014, I got invited to the Super Bowl, and you never say no to a Super Bowl invite when you're not paying, of course, right, guys?
Yep, that's true. That's correct.
So I go to this Super Bowl. It happens to be Super Bowl 48, Seattle versus Denver. All I want is a good game. I don't care about the Seahawks. I don't care about the Broncos, but that was a year that Peyton Manning and the Broncos were throwing 55 touchdowns, setting the record and everything. What happens? Seattle wins 43-8. A couple years ago, Pete and I buy tickets for $600 a piece to go right here to SoFi for the national championship game. That happens to be Georgia versus TCU. And once again, TCU had to go through Michigan. Surprisingly, they make it there. And we go see them play a Georgia team that just escaped Ohio State by a missed field goal. We're expecting a good game. We go enjoy on a rainy day, everything. We FaceTime Russ from there to say, hey, this is unbelievable. You got to come with us next time. So we sit down, and at first it gets to 7-7. Okay, we've got a good game here. No, we don't. Georgia goes and scores 65 points on them, 65-7 final, the largest blowout in championship history in the sport. And then I decide, you know what? Let me cross off all of my New Year's Six Bowl games to say that I've been. And so I buy a ticket for $300 to the Rose Bowl. And I go with JP. We're going up there. We're already late because the Rose Bowl does not know how to direct traffic. They've had 100+ years to figure this out. They still haven't figured it out.
Justin, welcome to LA.
After the anthem, after the flyover. And before we can even get to our seat, we finally get in. We hear touchdown, Jeremiah Smith. And that's when we're like, we got to run. Come on. We're missing the game. Sure enough, we probably could have seen that. And like, yep, that's going to be the whole theme of the day. Let's just turn around, JP. We just wasted some money. And the score ends up 41-21. So what have I learned through all this? Maybe I shouldn't go attend, or I should be out there panhandling on Twitter. Hey, Seahawks fans, you guys have never lost a Super Bowl that I've been to. So next time you're in the Super Bowl, here's my Venmo for my ticket. Hey, Georgia fans, you've never lost a bowl game that I've been to. Here's my Venmo to contribute. Hey, Ohio State fans, you've never lost a game that I've been to. So on and so forth. I'm saving my money. I will not buy any tickets to a big game going forward. But if anybody wants to invite me, I'm more than happy to.
Well, I feel lucky because I feel it on that side. I was literally the first ever Yankees playoff game I went to was in 2002, Game 3 in Angel Stadium. And I'm sitting with my best friend and his family are all Angels fans, and I'm watching the collapse, and everybody's going rally monkey and smacking their things here, and I'm sitting there almost crying in my seat. But I feel lucky because I went to the 2017 Rose Bowl, which got rated the best college football game ever. So,
Yeah.
I mean, but I feel your pain because I feel it a lot too with games I show up. I'm like, why am I here? I'm just making my team lose. I'm losing my money, and then my team loses.
Mm-hmm. Well, that'll do it for this week's edition of Touchdown in Paradise here in the Finstock Sports Network. I'm Justin.
I'm Russ.
I'm Pete.
We'll check in with y'all again before Championship Monday. Stay healthy out there. We'll see you then.